Hello, and welcome to my world. I just decided to do this video spur of the moment, and I don't have a script or anything, and I did not get ready for the video, obviously, my hair, and I don't have any makeup on, but I need a change, and I've been wanting to do this on YouTube for a while, and I just decided to do it. I don't know if I'll actually post this, but yeah, this is me today. It's Monday, November 22nd, 2021, and sitting here on my couch, as I have been doing lately for the last couple of months, not doing much. I have, turn this, can I turn that? Nope. Been sitting here eating junk food. And yeah, basically, I'll give you some backstory about who I am, but basically I feel like lately I am just sitting around killing myself with food. That's what I feel like. That might be a little extreme, but I'm just frustrated with myself and my lack of motivation and my lack of willpower, even though I know what to do and I've done tons of research about the way I would like to eat and what I know to be the healthiest way to eat, and yet I don't do it. And I do know why. Addiction. And yet I can't seem to do what I want to do. So a little bit about me. I have overcome a lot in my life. I grew up in a very dysfunctional, abusive environment, experiencing all, any kind of abuse you can think of, I probably experienced it. And didn't realize until, let's see, I'm 49 years old. And so I would say at least my mid-30s, somewhere around there, is when a therapist finally helped me realize that I had PTSD and had been dealing with that my whole life. And I had known that I had, issues with depression and anxiety, and to a, major degree, and that it affected my life in so many ways that I just won't go into right now, but I just was miserable. And I have come through that with a wonderful therapist and healed from PTSD and had a much happier, more successful life. And yet the food issue and the carb addiction, I've just never been able to overcome. I have 4 kids and a wonderful husband. I kind of separated myself out of all the dysfunction of my family when I was 20 and moved to Indiana, where I've lived since I was 20. And I met my husband here. I became a born-again Christian and have been married to my husband for 27 this year? Since 94. Yeah, 27, been married for 27 years. Although we were separated in 2020 for about 7 months, but that's a whole nother story. But things are great now. We've been married for 27 years, have 4 kids. My daughter is my youngest, and then we have 3 boys, and they range. My daughter's 15. My oldest is 26. He just turned 26. So for most of that time of raising my kids, I was a stay-at-home mom. When I was about 40, I went to school and got a teaching degree and taught for about 4 years until COVID hit, and then ended up resigning during COVID and during being separated from my husband, and just a bunch of stress led to that. Teaching, parts of it I loved, but it was also very stressful. And then with COVID on top of all of that, it was just going to be too much that I was willing to take on. And so I ended up resigning in 2020, right before the school year started. Basically, I just feel like right now I'm just kind of stuck. I've been doing Instacart I haven't been doing anything, honestly, the last few months, but after I quit teaching, I was doing Instacart for quite a while, at least like a year. Decided to actually go back to teaching this past year, in August, at a little Christian school that my daughter had gone to that I just love. I love that school, and they happened to have an opening, and the class sizes were tiny compared to public school. So was the pay, but it was just something that I really felt would be a good fit for me, that I would love it there. And I actually did love it there. And I started, and I taught for 5 days and ended up with COVID. Was homesick for a couple days, and my daughter was sick, and waited a few days to get tested. And then when I got tested, it was COVID. I thought my husband had COVID. That's actually what ended up, COVID was kind of our miracle that got us back together, because it helped him to realize what was important to him, and that family was the most important thing. And it helped him realize that, we should get back together, because I had wanted to get back together. So he had it and was fine. He was sick, and he had gotten a transfusion from the is that what it's called? No, not transfusion. Infusion. He got I think infusion, that was supposed to help it not be as severe, and because he was high risk probably for his high blood pressure and being overweight. So, he was home and he was sick for, 10 days or whatever, but it wasn't anything horrible. And so I just always figured if I got COVID, that's what it would be like. I had not been vaccinated just because I'd just been kind of on the fence and not sure what I should do. So I got COVID, and I think I got sick on a Tuesday, and by I think Friday is when I tested positive for COVID. And then Saturday, just the next day after testing positive, I remember just feeling pretty weak, and like, I remember I was going to make myself some soup or something, just canned soup. Super easy, but just standing in the kitchen, kind of having to lean against the counter and just being so tired, and just felt like I couldn't even make some soup. But I really didn't think much of it. I just thought, well, it's COVID, it's pretty bad, and so I'm going to feel tired. And so I just ended up sitting most of the day. I've got my recliner couch here that I just sit at lately too. But so my husband ended up making me my soup and whatever. I really wasn't thinking much about it. Well, so that night, looking back, that night when I was sleeping, and my husband was sleeping in the living room, just because since I had COVID, even though he'd already had it, he was concerned about getting it again or whatever. So I remember just having a rough night of sleep, just kind of waking up a lot and being very uncomfortable. But, I was half asleep, so not really thinking clearly. But I remember it being a rough night and just not feeling well at all. And that morning, which luckily it was a weekend, otherwise my husband would have been gone. But that morning I got up, and before I got up, I didn't even want to get up. I just felt so horrible. But then got to the point where I was like, oh, I have to get up because I need to get to the bathroom, because I was about to, this might be TMI for some people, but I'm just sharing my story. I was like, I needed to go to the bathroom because I was about to have diarrhea. But I also felt super nauseous, like I was going to throw up too. And so I got to the bathroom, just feeling horrible and feeling really kind of really weird. I don't even know how to explain it. But just feeling horrible, and to the point where I was almost practically about like to cry. I don't think I was crying, but I just felt like I was about to cry and like didn't know what was happening. So I'm in the bathroom, sitting on the toilet, and all of a sudden I just like knew that I was gonna throw up, and I was like, oh, what do I do? I won't go into TMI, but you can imagine if you need to have diarrhea, but you also need to puke, it's like something's going to go somewhere where it shouldn't go. But I went to stand up because I was going to puke, and that's kind of the last thing I remember. And then my husband was in the bathroom saying, Bridget, what happened or whatever. And I'm laying in the tub sideways with my legs hanging out, and somehow the water I passed out, and somehow the water I had turned the water on when I fell. So like the shower's like spraying on me, and I'm just laying in the tub, looking up at him like, what just happened? And basically when I stood up from the toilet, I had passed out. And I was so weak then at that point that he helped me up, and I, cleaned off, and he had to help me, even though our bedroom is literally like right next door to the bathroom. He had to help me to the bedroom to sit on the bed, and he had to help me get dressed. Like I was just literally so weak. And we almost called an ambulance, but we just weren't sure. He was like, do you need an ambulance? I was like, I don't know. Like neither of us really were sure what was going on and what to do. And so I decided, no, I think I can make it to the car. So I did end up making it to the car, but I mean, our house is small, and he had to help me get dressed. Then I went from our bedroom to the living room, which is not far at all, and had to sit on the couch for a minute, and then from the couch to the car with him helping me the whole way. It just was weird. Basically, to kind of speed the story up a little bit, we went to the ER. They determined after many tests and trying to figure out what was going on with me, because my oxygen was fine, my oxygen level, which that's like kind of the main thing that they look at when you get COVID. They want you to monitor your oxygen, and that was fine. But I just, I was having trouble breathing, and I was just so weak, I think, at that point. Basically, I ended up spending 10 days in the hospital, which actually is pretty short for what I was going through, from what I've gathered from other medical people that are shocked that I only spent 10 days in the hospital. But so basically, COVID caused heart failure. Like I said, I'm 49 and relatively good health. I mean, I am overweight, but not, I'm like 200 pounds, a little under. I'm not like morbidly obese or anything. Never knew of any heart issues, but COVID caused heart failure, which manifested as my left ventricle failing, and only at its worst was only at like 15%, when it should be. It's never at 100, but it should be around 60 to 70, I think. And so I was literally, at death's door with my heart beating at 15%, and also fluid gathering around my heart that needed to be removed. So they did, I didn't know I was going to make this video, so I didn't refresh with all the terms and everything, but cardio, I can't remember what it was, but where they had to go in with a big needle basically and take out the fluid from my heart. And at that point I was having such a hard time breathing that I was kind of relieved, thinking they were going to put me under and do this procedure, and was very discouraged, or I don't know what, I mean, it was more than discouragement, but to realize that they weren't going to put me under when they did this. And so here I am, hardly being able to breathe already, and they're pressing, I'm in this operating room, and they're having to press on my chest so hard while they're doing this procedure that it was even harder to breathe. And that was probably the lowest, like while they were doing that and afterwards, where I was the closest to death. And remember just kind of being out of it and thinking, Jesus, if this is it, I'm ready to meet you. I can't breathe, and was just so exhausted and wasn't scared, which is amazing, because I'm not always, but I have struggled with a terrifying fear of death. But in that moment I wasn't. It was really quite amazing. But so my body ended up going into shock. I just know all this, obviously after the fact, because I was kind of in and out of not consciousness. I think I was always conscious, but shock can kind of cause you to kind of lose touch with reality or whatever, where you don't really exactly, you're not aware. And so my body went into shock pretty badly, looking at my numbers after the fact, and looking at statistics. Like, I probably like at least 80% mortality rate at where I was. And so it's a miracle really for me to be here. And I had a lot of people praying for me, but once my body took that turn of starting to do better, it seemed to happen pretty quickly. And I only spent 10 days, total in the hospital. And coming home, so basically I won't go into a lot of detail about that now. Maybe, at some point that might be another video. I feel like I've already spent too much time talking about that. Basically though, since I've been home, at first I was just elated, to be alive. And I was just like, everything, I just feel so alive, and just to be able to breathe and to be able to go outside and have fresh air. Everything I ate just tasted so good because I hadn't eaten for many days. And I just felt I was just so happy just to be alive. And slowly that kind of waned. And for the past couple of months, I came home the beginning of September. It might have even been the 1st. I can't remember for sure, but I came home around the 1st of September. So it's been 2.5 months. And so I'd say for the last couple of months, I've just been feeling kind of lost, I guess. I didn't go back to teaching because not totally sure still what's going on with my heart. And because teaching is so stressful for me, I just feel like I probably will never go back to teaching. I just need something less stressful. And so I don't know what I'm going to do. I've actually have applied for some jobs because I feel like there's something I could do now. I'm still building up my endurance, and I'm tired all the time. And at first, so getting back to the food, that's really the thing that's bothering me the most right now, is the food issue. And so, when I first came home, I just felt so motivated, like, oh, this is going to be my motivation to finally, eat the way that I want to eat. I've done so much research, and I follow so many people on YouTube that do research. Some of the people that I follow the most often are like Dr. Barry and Dr. Ken Berry and his wife, Misha. who has a channel, Nisha Loves It, and they're keto, carnivore, and he is, I mean, he's a real doctor. He's had a real practice for, I don't remember, 20 or 30 years, and everything that he talks about is very heavily research based. He does his research and he doesn't promote anything unless he's researched it and knows that it's solid. So that's kind of where I have been, putting my focus and effort and wanting to eat at least keto and possibly carnivore to feel my best and get rid of some of the issues that I have had, like nothing major, just but altogether it feels like a lot. But what am I trying to say? So like I have Hashimoto's and would like to get that, under control as much as possible and take the least amount of medicine. Depression and anxiety, even though I have healed from the PTSD, I do still have a level of depression and anxiety that kind of goes up and down and can be worse and better. And I would love to get off of those medications. And I know there have been thousands of people that Dr. Barry knows of who have been able to get off of their medication just eating, that way, the ketovore or keto carnivore. And what else? Just inflammation. I always have a lot of inflammation and pains and, joint. My whole life, really, since being a kid, I've had issues with joint pain and leg pain, especially, and just really severe at times. And I know it helps with that, with inflammation. Now that I've had this heart issue that I still don't totally know, where my heart is at, I get another test December 2nd. I know it would help with that. Dementia runs in my family, and I want to give myself the best chance of not having dementia or Alzheimer's. I've been pre-diabetic at different times, and I haven't been tested lately, so there's probably a very good chance that I'm pre-diabetic right now, just because in the hospital my blood sugars were high at most of the time when they checked it. Not like extremely high, but on the high end, on the low high end. What else? Just overall, I mean, I want my, my hair to grow quicker, just, little things like that are just superficial, but that I care about. I usually don't look like this. I will post a video, I'm sure, in the future where I have my hair and makeup done, and you can see what I usually look like when I'm trying to look good. This is just me out of bed today, sitting around doing nothing, not having fixed my hair or put any makeup on or done anything. So yeah, I mean, as I'm getting older, I know this diet too, kind of a high fat, low carb with moderate protein is kind of what I see myself doing. It's, it's very good for your skin and for aging and for your hair and anything. I mean, it basically, Dr. Barry, if you know of him, calls it the proper human diet, and is basically what he believes, that everyone should be eating on some spectrum. It's a spectrum diet where you can go from just regular keto and having higher vegetable content and things like that, to all the way to over to carnivore, where you only eat animal products, and some people even go so far as to cut out like cheese and dairy and that kind of thing and only eat beef, or only eat, beef and eggs and butter. So I mean, it's a spectrum, but he calls it the proper human diet. It's basically, it's good for anything, any health issue that someone is having is going to be better, if not cured, eating this way. And so I know all of this. I watch videos all the time of him and other people, and not just of that kind, I mean, if something better or something different ends up being better or tweaking, and the research shows, oh, actually this part was wrong. I mean, what I'm saying is I'm open to change, and I watch videos, of all kinds, and just love to learn, and am always open to the possibility that, something could be wrong. And so is he. And a lot of the people that I follow, I mean, they're following the research. And if that research shows something different, then they're not going to cling to what they believe. They're going to follow the research. So that's where I find myself, kind of knowing this stuff, wanting to live this way, and yet sitting around. Whoops, where'd it go? What am I doing here? Sitting around eating. Oh, here we go. Sorry. Eating junk food. Got some Cheetos corn puffs over here. Got some Pepperidge Farm cookies. Earlier I was eating some chocolate. At least my drink, where'd it go? It's diet, but Mountain Dew. And I just feel like I'm killing myself with food. Like, I'm at the point in my life here, after having this major medical issue, where I should be motivated to eat, the best way that I know how to eat for my health, and I can't seem to do it. And I know that it's because of carb addiction, and that might be controversial to some people who don't believe that's a thing, but if you really do your research and look into it, you will see that it is a thing. Sugar is more addictive than cocaine. It's been scientifically proven, and that there's really our body does not need sugar. Our body does not need simple carbohydrates. There's no need for it. It's basically just eating junk and eating something that goes into your body and damages all sorts of things, cells and whatever. I mean, you can look into that research. I believe it. And if you don't, that's fine. That's what you want to believe. But if you really do the research, you'll see that it's true. And so I've got to figure this out, so I'm researching a lot lately about just the addiction aspect of it and what I can do about it, and how I can help support myself to basically break this addiction, and get healthier and eat the way I want to eat and feel good. And so I just am putting this out here, hoping that starting to record my journey on YouTube, and maybe that'll motivate me more. I can share as I do my research, and share about what I'm doing and what I'm trying and what's working and what's not working, and hopefully help someone else in the same position. And yeah, I basically am just hoping that by doing this, it will help me stay motivated, kind of have, lots of people to help support me and to keep me accountable. And yeah, so I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to say. So yeah, if you're interested, hit the subscribe button, follow along with me on my journey, and we'll see where it goes. So hope to see you soon in a future video.